Hey everybody, Robert Preston Jr. here with DouglasNow.com, sitting in my mobile studio, the front seat of my pickup, taking a break between the work session, the city commission meeting. A lot of you just saw the work session, and what can you say? What can you say? You know, you think it can't get any more bizarre, it can't get any sillier, it can't get any more ridiculous, and yet it does. I don't want to get too in depth with it, but once again, I don't understand why they allow the things that go on in that meeting room to go on. I'll have some comments a little bit later about some of this stuff. I don't want to get into it right now. Fixing to have to go back in and sit in for round two again. That was the work session you just saw. The actual business that the city's taking care of should not take very long at all. And I'm just going to go live for the whole thing. They'll put everything on the consent agenda. It was buying police cars. It was the tax allocation district, putting it on the ballot, and then there was one more, and I don't remember what that was. It was Stanley Merritt introduced it at the beginning, but they'll vote on those and approve those. Miss Pearson will have some problems with the tax allocation district thing. All they did was vote to put it on the ballot, and that's what they're going to do. They have to have a resolution that places it on the ballot, and then so it'll be on the ballot. I say we, people in the city. I'm not in the city, but people in the city can vote on it in November. So anyway, talking to a few folks a few minutes ago between the meetings, and I've got some thoughts on some of this stuff, on some of the comments that were made. I want to organize them and don't really want to talk too far off the cuff about it right now. And I don't like to, I feel like sometimes my comments may make things worse, but again, these ridiculous statements get made, and people need to have some perspective on what's being said and why. Of course, we get accused of discrimination and accused of racism and all that stuff, and it's not the case. As soon as that gets brought up, the focus of the argument shifts. You move away from the issues, and you start talking about, then you have to start defending yourself against those comments, and that's what people do. And some people go to it first, some people go to it last, but it's a way of disarming the other side in a discussion, is to accuse of racism and accuse of discrimination and that kind of thing. And you're never going to make any progress. You're never going to build any trust. You're never going to build any type of rapport when debates come up, if that's what you're going to do. All right? It used to make me mad. It doesn't make me mad anymore. It really doesn't. It frustrates me. You have to drop your head and think, really, we're gonna go here. We're supposed to be moving beyond these things, and yet here we are. We're stuck in the same rut. So we repeat the same cycle over and over in city politics. And ultimately, that's why you can't make any progress, and why we're never going to make any progress. Even with the tax allocation district, we're looking at stuff like this, and what's happening here is the city of Douglas, from where I stand and what I see, is not the prosperous community it used to be. We have some good things going. We have some resources in our favor. We have some things we can capitalize on, but we're not. And the reason we're not is because of foolishness like this. And I don't know if our commissioners don't realize it. I don't know if they don't understand it. I don't know if they don't care. It's probably all of the above. What you're seeing ultimately is personal agendas and that kind of stuff take precedence over the common good. And you've got two sides warring against each other, is really what it amounts to. And when that happens, you cannibalize each other and you stall progress. And, you've got to have people who are willing to compromise and people who are willing to give a little to get a little. And that's not really happening right now. It is happening in one instance. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But overall, it's not happening. And anyway, it really hurts my feelings. And it bothers me that this is the state of our city. And all we've done, what I get accused of, with all this other mess, is all we've done is shine light on. What happens when you turn lights on in a basement? What happens? The roaches and the rats scatter. They don't like light. And what we've done by being here in the meeting rooms and reporting on this stuff and talking about it is simply shine light on what's happening. All right? And now people are backpedaling and people are trying to justify their behavior. And you see people on the ropes. And we've got a very active election season this year. And the reason we've got that, people are upset. People are seeing this kind of stuff. And what we're doing, and I say we, just the media in general, not me. I don't deserve any credit for anything. But what we're doing is we're simply doing our job, which is to shine light on this stuff and to hold our elected officials accountable and to make sure that they know people are watching. And people are watching and people are taking notice and people are running against them. And that threatens their power and in a lot of ways threatens their income because these are paid positions. They're not paid a lot, but there are benefits that go with it. And people are seeing it. And people are taking notice. And that's all you want. Give people a choice. If people choose the same ones who are in office now, that's fine. But give people a choice. And there are a lot of people who don't like this, and a lot of people who are upset about it. Anyway, some folks have commented about the sound. I've told you before, I'll tell you again, I can't do anything about the sound with the equipment that I currently have. What you're going to have to do is turn your volume all the way up. You might have to go back and watch it again with an external speaker or a Bluetooth device or something like that. I've got an external microphone in the meeting room. I have the microphone in front of the commissioners. Hopefully you can pick up what the commissioners are saying. I don't have a microphone in front of the podium. So when speakers are there talking, if they're not talking loud enough to pick up with my phone, there's not anything I can do. You'll just have to listen. When Roscoe Allen was talking, I think he was loud enough most people could hear him. You could hear the mayor. Hopefully you can hear the commissioners. But again, the technology that I have is limited, so I'm trying to do the best that we can. And I've noticed that not everybody has problems hearing. Some people can hear, some people can't. It has to do with your devices, with how you've got your sound setting and things like that. So when people say they can't hear, I've tried to turn the receiver up and everything that I can do so you can hear, but I can't always always do that. So I do the best I can. I want everybody to be able to hear everything, but sometimes you just can't. And again, plug up a speaker, get a Bluetooth. I'm going to download this stuff off of Facebook and put them on YouTube tonight or probably tomorrow. I'll let everybody know when they get put on YouTube. You might want to go back and watch them. You have more control over the volume there. But again, we're doing the best we can. And of course, I'm always trying to figure out new and better ways. We have multiple microphone channels on what we're doing. In theory, I could put a microphone at the podium and then have one in front of the commissioners, but I don't know how the city feels about me sort of monopolizing their technology here. And I'll have to get here about 30 minutes early to get my equipment set up. So we're not quite ready to go to those links yet. We'll do the best we can to try to pick up what we can. And hopefully you'll be able to hear. Maybe I need to move and sit closer to the podium where you can hear, be closer to the phone a little bit. So anyway, we'll continue to explore that, but I like to sit where I am now so I can get a better view of everybody, but maybe I do need to sit more on that side. So we'll look at that here. I might move here in the next meeting. well, in the actual commission meeting. I'll move over there on that side. I'll be sitting by Miss Pearson. So if she decides to talk about me, I'll be sitting close enough to her. We can talk face to face. Anyway, one other comment. I did want to say this, that, you know, Commissioner Pearson and Mr. Allen, others. Now, Commissioner Durham was not in the work session. Don't know if he'll be in the meeting or not, but he was in the work session. But they say that I don't talk to them, that I don't give them an opportunity to speak, and that's not true. They have an open invitation to speak to me anytime. Now, I don't want to hear about a bunch of foolishness. You know, I don't want to get up here and hear about what usually gets said, at least from the podium, about this case that goes back to the 90s that a judge threw out. I mean, you know, all this other stuff. I don't want to hear about all that. But I do have no problem whatsoever if anybody wants to sit down and talk one-on-one about these issues. In fact, I sent Commissioner Durham and Commissioner Pearson an email a week and a half ago and asked them to comment on several documents that I have from open records requests. And neither one have acknowledged that they even got the email. And I know they did because I sent it to their city email, and they check those all the time. So I have asked them for comment, and I also told them in the emails that if they wanted to respond, that they could respond in writing, and I would print their responses and read their responses exactly as they send them to me. Because what they're going to say, well, we're not going to respond because he'll twist our words and make us say things that we didn't say, which is not what I would do. And I'm not joking. I'm not being funny about that. I would never do that. I'm not going to misquote somebody. I'm not going to take somebody's quotes out of context. I'm not going to misrepresent anybody. You may not like what I say. You may not enjoy what I say. You may think that I'm wrong about what I say, but I'm never going to take someone's words or quotes and twist them and make them into something they're not. But once again, I would never be able to convince some of our elected officials of that. So I told them, if you would like to respond in writing, I will print your response verbatim, and I will. I won't even edit out any grammatical mistakes that are made. I'll put it in there exactly how it's sent to me. But they haven't responded. They haven't acknowledged it, and they won't acknowledge it. But then if I write a story about what I sent them, they'll get mad because they didn't have a comment from them. But it's a lose-lose situation, and that's sort of the game that we play. You know, that's the play the victim mentality. If you don't like the question, you don't like the story, you don't like the subject, then you ignore it. Then when it gets printed and published, then you act like you've been done wrong because there was no comment. That's not the case. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen at all. So anyway, that's where we are. A little bit of commentary about the work session, and I hate having to get into all that. Now we're going to go back in and sit through the meeting. Again, the actual matters of business only take a few minutes. Then we'll have to sit through the god-awful comments time and see what goes on then. And I'll try to get a better angle, but the Border Wars trophy is on the table in front of the commissioners. And the Border Wars trophy was covering up, from the angle I was sitting last time, was covering up Cindy McNeil. So I'll try to move where you can see all the commissioners, not the trophy, but the trophy's there, and the mayor's going to talk about it during his comments. And maybe if I can move to the other side where I'm closer to the podium, then maybe you'll be able to see everybody. But right now, where I'm sitting, Commissioner McNeil's head is covered up by the Border Wars trophy. So I'll try to move around and see. Again, if all the seats are taken, I'll just go back to sitting where I was. We'll hope for the best. Again, volume, I'm doing the best I can. Turn your speakers up as loud as you can. If you've got an external speaker, hook it up to that. Do a Bluetooth, whatever, you know. I'll do the best I can with it. If you need any suggestions on what to do, go find your 13-year-old kid or grandkid. I guarantee you they can tell you how to boost the sound. That's when I have questions about technology. I go talk to my 13-year-old. What do I need to do? He always figures it out. He knows more about this stuff than I do. We're going to head back in the meeting. We'll see what happens. And maybe we'll be out of here at a decent time. Maybe they'll get us out of here where I can go home and I can alternate between Monday Night Football and WWE Monday Night Raw. It's Monday night. We got to watch wrestling at the Preston House. We're going to go live here in just a few minutes from City Hall one more time. Y'all have a good night. We will see you hopefully later on tonight. We'll have a few more comments about this. That's what the game plan is. We'll see what happens. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you in a little bit.